Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Triggercast. Sweeney here, and today we bring on Scott Davis. Now, with the whole mix-up in SEO, post-pigeon, all the craziness that's been happening, I saw a few pieces of content by Scott, and I was very intrigued. And as I started to dig deeper, I saw that he was thriving post-pigeon. So I wanted to bring him on, kind of get his opinion on what's changed, what's working for him, and what you guys can do as well. So focus of this one's going to be very SEO strong. He does not have a webcam, so you don't get to see his beautiful face, but you will get to see my beautiful face, and more importantly, you'll get to hear him talk on the matter. So Scott, introduce yourself a little bit, and appreciate you coming on.
Hey, I'm happy to be here. I'm Scott Davis. I'm the Senior SEO Specialist for Valet Interactive Marketing in Plano, Texas. We do hotel sites there. And I'm also the CMO of a very small business in Dallas, in North Dallas Appliance Repair.
And what kind of first pulled me towards Scott is tell us a little bit about your kind of results that you've gotten post-pigeon or just with the appliance company.
We talked about this a little in prep, and your comment was actually the better phrasing of what's been going on. The phone lines have been melting. The phone's ringing off the hook. My appliance owner literally complains that he's been on the phone all day, but he's not complaining that it's a bad thing. He's complaining because it's a good thing. So it's really been cool. We got map pack placement where we didn't have any before, and we also managed to push down a few of the directories that were kind of hanging out in our niche on the first page, which also helped.
Very awesome. So if I recall correctly, you're kind of ranking, I believe, #1 for the terms and #1 in the. I did a little bit of searching. I think you show up before the map pack and you're #1 in the map pack, or can you kind of clarify that?
That is correct. If you search appliance repair in Dallas in any variation, we've got the #1 search result, and we're also #1 in the maps. With personalized results, if you happen to be connected to us via G+, you'll even see some of our G+ posts a little bit further down on the first page.
Wow, that's very impressive. And I imagine this is a more recent thing. Do you kind of know what was #1 before, or what was #1, #2? Would you end up beating out by any chance?
In the map pack, or in search in
Yes,
general?
in search in general.
I've had the #1 spot for about 12 months. It changes a little bit. I redid my H1 or my primary keyword for the home page just phrasing wise about 6 months ago because I wanted something that flowed a little better in the content and was easier to use, and that seemed to have firmed it up some. As far as the map back goes, yes, I know exactly who I was beating, or who was beating me. It was Lone Star Appliance.
And I saw, if I read correctly, it didn't seem like you. I think there was maybe one Google review
And it's a
for.
negative one.
Oh wow, that's
Um,
that's pretty interesting.
yeah, we unfortunately it took us about 2 weeks to respond to that one. That's always a little bit of an emotional process when the owner's involved and deals with all the customers. So once we calmed down and actually responded to the review, during that 2 week time frame, let me back up a second. We had gone from #1 in the maps, honestly, to #2, and then down to #3, and I was finally like, hey, we have to respond to this. So we responded to it. The next day, right back to #1 in the maps, even though it was a negative review. It's like it almost didn't matter.
Interesting. I mean, I like that aspect because negative reviews are a reality of getting reviews, and as long as it's a two-way conversation, I think that's a lot better, and both sides get a chance to state their opinion. I mean, if someone says, "Oh, this place was too expensive," and the owner comes back and says they ordered the third most expensive bottle of wine in the restaurant, you're like, "Well, sounds like it's their fault." And other times, you can kind of tell the customer's in the wrong, and then other times you can tell the owner's probably a mean person. So I think it is better off that way, and it's, I guess, refreshing to see that it worked out in that way.
We were quite pleased.
Now, real quick on Pigeon, we diverted a little bit into the results. If you haven't been following Pigeon, I've talked about it on the Friday Reload a few times. The quick kind of synopsis is the Google Map Pack results have changed drastically. I believe they have shrunk.
We're
Um,
seeing a 3-pack typically on ours. I
compared to what before?
it was usually around 5 or 6. It just depended on who in the area actually had a map listing with a URL tied to it.
Gotcha. So less map pack listings, obviously increased competition there. A big boost has been, I joke that Yellow Pages is relevant once again. A bigger boost has been given to directories such as Angie's List, Yelp, Yellow Pages, and these other kind of directories. Little bit less related, but still in the same vein. Video thumbnails have completely switched over. You used to be able to get video thumbnails, then they kind of shrinked it to only about 13 sites, and now it's basically like 96% YouTube. So I think Daily Motion and like National Geographic, it's a video thumbnail, but it's basically only YouTube at this point. And also author snippets have been taken away. So they've switched things up in the search results a decent darn bit, I would say.
Yeah, I actually missed the author snippets. That was kind of fun.
You weren't a part of that, or you didn't realize that it was taken away?
No, I missed the fact that they're not there anymore. It was kind of cool to search one of my articles or pull it up and see me right there next to it.
Oh no, I agree. I mean, I thought it made sense, but hey, they changed with the times. So now, kind of shifting gears. You had this post here. I can retell it, or you probably remember it, and it's how to beat local directories post-pigeon, or we can kind of just focus in general on strategies that work post-pigeon.
Actually, let's talk through that post. I've got a copy of it in front of me.
Right.
Uh, how to beat local directories post-pigeon is really not as hard as you would think. Um, there are some overall things that Google does, regardless of what your site is. I mean, we've all got to deal with the little penguin, and we've all got to deal with the big bad panda. Well, duplicate content is one way to deal with your directories if you need to beat them. A good way to do this is by submitting the same original content to all of the directories. So their description for your company is the same on every site. This hurts them because their content isn't unique in describing you. Your content on your website is unique, and all the directories have basically the same so-so description. Yext is a good way to syndicate descriptions like that. Yext is a service similar to Moz Local, where you can go in and manage all of your citation listings. It's got spots for, company hours, your locations, your URL, and it also has a field for description. Well, when you put that description in, it syndicates it to all of the directories. And now Panda gets to visit them. And if you've got a better website with a better content, you will outrank them in the SERP. It also helps having a Google Map listing. Google Plus, Google Maps, they have followed links. And these are links from Google. That's 99 domain authority. You really can't get any better. Google loves their own product. Thus the Yelp, or YouTube in the video snippets. But directories don't qualify for a map listing. They don't have a physical location that's in the area that you're searching for in local. So they can't show up in the map pack. That means they're not eligible for those really cool links you can get from Google. Another way to actually deal with places like Yelp, especially any place you've got bad reviews, is putting a reviews page on your website. Don't copy the reviews from somebody else. If you look at my appliance site, I've got a reviews page, but that's an image. I took pictures of it and put the picture on the page so I don't have a duplicate content issue. They link out to the sites that I've got up there so you can actually read the reviews on their sites, but when you search North Dallas Appliance Repair reviews, I'm the first result, beating all the directories. And that was actually really, really easy.
And why do you think that happened? Was it
I they That's a loaded question. Uh, the honest answer to that is because with a Google Map base, whatever you put in the name field for that is going to be number one for that search term. If it's your company name, that's going to make whatever site's linked rank number one for that. Um, Adding reviews to it when my domain is already associated with my brand, it just makes it even easier to pop up for that reviews. It also helps, if you put reviews in the URL, make sure you do all the on-page correct.
Gotcha. And I imagine that's um, maybe not had the hugest benefit, but certainly doesn't help. I mean, you always want to be number one, and now you can people that are looking for those reviews, they're still going to get that quality content, and
Well,
they're going to find what they're looking for, and now they're on your site.
right, and Yelp still shows up. I mean, they're on their number 2 or number 3, depending on where their site ranks in the SERP that day, but at least I get the first shot to say, hey, come look at the reviews on my site.
I'm curious when you're saying this, you're talking about the duplicate content to beat the directories. Is there any way that this might kind of shoot yourself in the foot, so to speak? Like now your Yelp uh, directory listing isn't going to show up as high, and if you're not showing up higher than it, does that kind of make sense that you might be hurting that page's chance of ranking well?
Um, it's very possible, but as long as Yelp is still showing up in general and they search in Yelp, Yelp search is Yelp search. It's not Google search. So they're not going to have the same duplicate content Panda algorithm.
I guess what I'm trying to say is if for some reason I mean, because you are competing with yourself to a certain degree, right? If your
Correct.
like Yelp listing is coming up, so in a way you do have to kind of cannibalize yourself to try to put your number one star forward, I guess.
Yeah, well, I didn't say I gave a bad description via
Hmm.
Yext to all of the directories. I just made sure that the one that I had on my website was better. And the fact that they all have quality descriptions, but it's identical, just makes it a little bit easier to beat them. It's not going to totally crush them. I mean, they're directory sites. They all have the same information.
Very true. Very true. So moving forward, I see you talk here a bit about keyword research. I can kind of read this back, or I mean, you probably have this in your brain, but
Uh,
basically you talk about how people are doing their keyword research kind of wrong post Hummingbird.
yeah, it's the old SEO joke. SEO walks into a bar, pub, social house, on and on and on, all the different ways to phrase bar. Well, with a lot of what's going on after Hummingbird, Google is learning that if I search hotels in Dallas, that search means the exact same thing as Dallas hotels, Dallas hotel, a hotel in Dallas TX, a hotel in Dallas, Texas, and they're giving you almost identical SERP pages. So there's about a 5-10% variance in usually the top 10 spots as far as where the domains are ranked. But if you actually go through and pull them and compare the top 100 results, it's all the same domains. So when you're doing your keyword research, they're giving you exact match volume if you're using the keyword planner. So when you pull it, everything that is essentially the same keyword, you're basically looking for the absolute value, kind of like you were targeting broad match modified and AdWords. If it's got Dallas and hotel in it, add all those volumes up together, and that's your real search volume for the term. It's not as small as what you think.
And that's the better way to go about the process, or just kind of a better way to get a good gauge on how much volume is really there.
It's a better way to see what's going on demand wise. And I would also say when you're doing your optimization, don't don't use a semantic variant of your homepage primary keyword as a target on any of your sub pages, because your homepage is always going to beat it, and odds are Google's not going to show that page up in search. They're going to show up your homepage because they like it better. It's got more links. So use that real estate for something that actually has more value, something you're not already targeting on another page.
Now with speaking of links, I could have sworn I read somewhere that you don't
I don't believe
try
in
to
link
build.
building.
Yeah,
I,
so I'm curious. I mean, obviously your site is ranking decently well. It's beating out some other people, so you know what you're doing, right? Um,
I I pay
what is
Yext.
your strategy then? Hmm.
I I pay Yext, and I leave it alone. I spend 15 minutes a year making sure all of my citations in the dashboard are correct, and then I don't think about it for another year. It's creepily that easy for us as far as local goes.
So, what else do you spend your time on then? Is it the on-page content? Is it setting up, creating unique content? Is it
I
making sure the on-site SEO is good? What's the
I spend a lot of time looking at the data and dealing with the pay-per-click as far as adjusting bids, trying to be in the spot that I want to be in, not paying too much, dealing with the competition. Um, and that's actually backed off a little bit since Pigeon. We were spending about $1,000 a month on pay-per-click up until, or not a month, I'm sorry, a week, and pay-per-click up until about Pigeon. And this week we've spent $200. I have to say, if this was a change Google made to try to increase AdWords revenue, it is not doing that.
could be particular for you? There might be some other guys making up for that difference and hurting for it.
Well,
But
yeah, it
so
all
you
depends
do,
on how bad you got hit in the placements.
yeah. So you do pay-per-click as well.
Yes.
How does that how does that how is that a part of your SEO strategy? I mean, are they kind of hand in hand? And if so, how does pay-per-click complement the SEO? What are your, I guess, what are your goals that you're trying to get out of the pay-per-click campaign?
Okay. The idea for the pay-per-click campaign is we want to be in spot 3 or 4 because we've usually got the number one organic result, and if they've got a map pack, we've usually got the number one map. So it seems to be really effective whether they click or not, and being right there next to each other, 3 spots in a row. You know, the name reinforcement, the URL reinforcement. I even have the phone number up there 3 times in the ad with the map list, or well, ad extension with on the map listing and in my meta description for my homepage, because I don't necessarily care if they click. This is a small business. I need the phone to ring. Um, and thus why our actual spend on pay-per-click has dropped. I'm already running ad scheduling. I've got them set to turn on and turn off. We don't run on some days. Um, we run certain things on others. I'm actually running 5 campaigns at the moment, and they're all designated for individual texts that we've got going, just so, if we need a couple more calls for Chris to run, well, we flip the one on that's got all Chris's ads in it, and they've all got their own budgets and scheduling and bid modifiers. Um, I don't usually run on mobile for our hotels on the pay-per-click. I definitely run on mobile for local, and I highly recommend it.
Yeah, that is something I seem to have been reading and noticing, is that mobile PPC. I remember reading your comment about the hotels, and that makes sense. I mean, everything is industry specific at the end of the day.
It really
But
is.
you've been saying that, or with the hotels, you noticed obviously it didn't work very well, but as you just said, locally, it does, I'm sure, probably completely fine because it's probably a lot of people trying to make calls.
Yes, sir. That's exactly it.
Do you have any kind of tips you've learned from doing pay-per-click as long, as far as, maybe branded search terms, or as far as the ads or ad extensions? Any kind of any secrets there?
It's a really complicated, involved process. Um, now, I can say with the new ad extension they put out with the call out extensions, um, they're actually pretty cool. The 25 character count limit is awful. There's nothing like trying to say something and then rephrasing it and trying to shove it into 25 characters so it fits. But it's allowed us to add, for the hotels, free Wi-Fi, free breakfast, free parking, especially in Brooklyn. That's killer. Um, Kids eat free. Different things that you couldn't necessarily fit in the ad, and they may not even be something you think was relevant to the search, because you can't really guess what people are going to search. But when they search, if you've got an ad extension that's not already in your ad that Google thinks is relevant, they're probably going to show it. I haven't looked at the appliance one this week on the call extension performance for those, but one of the hotels I was looking at yesterday was seeing about a 14% click-through rate when the call-out extension was actually running.
Wow. So that's definitely a pretty big change.
Yeah, I like it. And the benefit
Decent.
of more extensions is it's going to raise your ad rank because you're participating, which means it's easier to get that #1 spot if that's what you're bidding for, and your cost per click's going to be a little bit lower than somebody else bidding for that spot.
And now with when you do have the #1 and then #1 spot or #1 map pack spot, you talk about going for that third or fourth. And is that because it's just not worth it for you to spend to be the #1 in the AdWords, and kind of is it just wasted money? It's worth it for you to be in the mix, but it's not.
For the hotels, we've got one up in Brooklyn. It's Hotel La Jolie. We only run on brand for them. I'm running it exact match for the brand name itself, and then I've actually got it put in there with broad match modified, just so I can catch every occurrence of somebody searching that. And on that one, being brand, cost per click's pretty cheap for your own name. And on those, I usually try to go for #1 because we're competing with online travel agencies, Booking.com, Travelocity, Holiday Inn, Hilton, all the other big brands. The competition's pretty large, but they pay less cost per click average than you would in local. In local, I'm not buying my brand name just because I'm, once again, using broad match modified for my targeting within a set geographic area. So the name of the company happens to be North Dallas Appliance Repair. Dallas Appliance and Repair, two of my keywords. So my ads show up there anyways. But on that one, like I said, I'm really shooting for spot 3. One, because in January, our cost per click for one click on Appliance Repair Dallas was about $18. And it's come down a little bit. I think I'm paying $7 this week. But with small business owners doing their own AdWords and budgeting and anything else, when the phone quits ringing, they freak out and up their bids, and you kind of have to pay for that. So spot 3 on that is a little bit of a control, so I don't have to set up automated tools to adjust my bids, but I can still make sure I'm not going to pay $12, $14 for a click.
So it's kind of the answer to the problem, so to speak. Because
pretty much.
Other business owners, for example, when you took over #1 the map pack, I'm sure that other guy was buy. So they're causing the bids to run up. So
exactly.
Instead of getting caught between the friendly fire, well, unfriendly fire, I guess. Instead of getting caught up in that, you can kind of still stay relevant and not get your ass cooked with the ads.
Pretty much.
Not end up in a bidding war. Now, where do kind of reviews and reputation management end up in this mix?
I'm glad I don't have to do reputation management at Valet Interactive. I'm not that tactful most of the time, so it's probably better for all of us. Fortunately, I haven't had to do a lot of it with the appliance company. We've had some reviews here and there that weren't spectacular. Everybody does. One of the random things with this particular vertical is the happy customers don't leave your reviews. They give out your number, they give out your card, they call you back. It may be 2 or 3 years later, but they don't necessarily go to leave the reviews. It tends to be the ones that are unhappy that take the effort to create the account, log in, verify their email, and then go leave you a bad review. But I highly recommend it. I did a little PR when I was in high school, and reputation management, especially for your brand, is extremely important. I mean, if you've got bad reviews on TripAdvisor, go out there and at least respond to them. If You've got bad reviews on Yelp. Go out there and at least respond to them. You've got to act like you're being the responsible business owner and doing your job, and that's really your job. Taking care of the customers and making sure everybody knows, hey, sometimes situations don't work out, but even when it doesn't work out, we're going to part ways on good terms.
And you're going to do your best to, make the best of the situation and
Make the
try to figure
situation
out a
right.
solution
Yeah,
to it.
pretty
And
much.
now with so so you don't have to do the reputation management aside, but do you do anything in particular to try to boost reviews or direct them to a certain location over another? I mean, like for
I've,
example, like with
I've
the appliance site.
I do. I've tried, and my only successful one was that negative review on G+. Um, I picked up a lovely tip from Greg Gifford at Auto Rev in Addison, and they've got a tag that you can put at the end of a link to your Google Plus page. It's a little query parameter, and so when they click on that link, it actually takes you to Google Plus, and assuming you're already signed in, which most people aren't, after you sign in, the review box pops up. But if you're actually signed in, when you click that link, it pulls up your Google Plus page and pops up the box right there in front of you, so you can leave a review. You don't have to find it. You don't have to look for it. I actually put that link on the very top line of my reviews page on my site, because I want people that hit the site to go leave reviews, and they haven't seemed to have figured that out from the Google Plus badge.
Gotcha. I know. I think I read an article by Greg Gifford where he talks about an auto dealership and how they gave out basically like a postcard, and I think the postcard maybe took you to a site that kind of. I know there's rules about it. You can hold people's hands to a degree,
But you can't
but you
give them
can't.
anything for it. Yeah.
Yeah. So but I know he had a way of doing it. So that's where I was curious if you were pointing reviews in any specific direction. I imagine with hotels it's probably got to be a lot more difficult because there's
You know,
probably so many different review sites, and you're probably spread kind of thin as far as Google, Yelp, TripAdvisor, and I don't even know how many other sites.
Booking.com, Trivago, Travelocity, Expedia, Priceline, and now I'm drawing a blank. But there's a lot.
That's a lot of reviews to be spread out across. Now I'm curious, have you ever done anything with video SEO and video rankings?
Um, Not per se. Once upon a time, I worked for a light bulb company in Dallas and wrote some of their product pages, and we did a lot of embedding YouTube videos and making sure we put a good description in YouTube on the video with a link back to the page that was talking about that product, so people could find it on YouTube and go to that page and buy it. Or if they were on the website, they could hit the tab over to the video and watch the video right there on the website. And we actually got some pretty good traction on that, but I wasn't able to see the numbers on that then. Um, After that, I haven't really done much with video.
Gotcha. And do you guys do anything? So you talk about remarketing, I saw somewhere, but I'm curious, and we'll get into that in a second. Do you guys do anything on a social kind of strategy, Facebook and or Twitter, or any kind of Facebook and or Twitter ads?
Um, I know we've got a social strategy on that one, but that's not my department at Valet. Um, as far as the appliance, we only advertise to people on Google. Well, and Bing, of course, but we're not advertising on Bing. We're still listed with Webmaster. But we don't do phone books. We don't do print ads. We don't do TV. We're, only advertising to people that actually search. I do some Google Plus posts and try to get a little traction to the page, build up some of those good links, respectfully, of course. As soon as people start abusing, it's gone. Um, uh, like I said, we handle that at Valet, but I don't actually do that, so I couldn't tell you what our strategy was there.
Gotcha. And now, do you guys do any kind of what's your remarketing kind of strategy look like?
Um, well, I've had.
Valley or appliance?
We're not remarketing on the appliance one, but I'm actually going to start one up for dryer vent cleaning with all the traffic that we've got coming to the website and all the people that see it. I'm going to set up a campaign to remarket to people that have been on the site and hit some of my site goals for dryer vent cleaning, and kind of chase them around the internet with a display ad going, hey, you loved our service. Well, we can clean out your dryer vents too, and see how that works. I've tried running pay-per-click on that, and I'm not getting a lot of action, but we just got into that, and there's a ton of competition in the market. It's in its own industry itself, so dipping my toe in the water there. We've done some for our hotels. Wasn't spectacular as far as the success rate. We were offering deals on the websites, and our client wanted to offer the same deal on the remarketing. So we were a little hindered to start with. I mean, if you're going to chase them around the internet, you've got to chase them around with a better deal, because they've already turned down the deals on your website.
Something
right.
Different.
But we weren't able to do that, so that one wasn't spectacular. Actually started to get one of those clicking Santa Monica Hotel right before they left us, but that was the only one that was actually offering a better deal on the remarketing, and people loved it.
Well, there you go. So it could have worked, and it could have worked so well, but they had to strike you down. Now, Schema. Can you kind of give me a minute rundown on Schema? I've heard of it.
Certainly.
3 or 4 times.
If you're listening to this, go to schema.org, schema.org. This is background markup you put in your code that essentially tells Google where you're at, what things are. It's structured data markup. It's a way to tell Google, you've got an address in the footer. Well, you can actually label it. This is the street number. This is the street. This is the city. This is the state. This is our phone number. This is our brand. This is our logo. And Google takes that data, and if they so choose, they may integrate it into the knowledge graph. It may affect your placement as far as a map pack. If somebody is searching for something and they happen to be near you, and Google goes, oh, well, I've seen this schema markup. This website's right next to wherever these people are looking for, a hotel near the American Airlines Center, and Google can go, oh, well, this is probably the best result. I'm going to give this guy a little boost in the map pack, or maybe give you a little jump in the SERP placement because you've done a better job of helping Google understand what you're actually putting on your website. But they've got schema for all sorts of stuff. I know they've got hotel schema, they've got business schema, address schema. You can do all sorts of stuff. There's a whole catalog. But it's just another way to mark up your website and do the technical SEO back end, telling Google, hey, this is what this page is about.
How important do you feel it is?
Do you want to show up?
Cool.
That's all I gotta say. It's not gonna take you from number 99 to number 1. But if you're already doing everything right, if you've already got things clicking, it's just one extra step. It's the extra mile to make sure that maybe this other guy was getting a little close to you and you were waffling on position 1 or 2 or position 2 or 3. Well, this might be the thing that makes sure you hold on to position number 1. When I go into Webmaster for all of my appliance terms that I actually care about, my average position is 1.0. It's not 1.2, it's not 1.5, and it's 1.0, and I can't necessarily chalk that up to schema, but I've definitely used it, and I think it's helped.
Gotcha. Now, shifting gears a little bit more, I saw you had a comment on phone tracking. So I can kind of read this here, and then you can kind of tell us if there's kind of lessons here, other things you've learned. So you talk about manual phone tracking. Now, a good portion of the time in local, if the customer is calling you and found you online, they will tell you why they were on your site. Now, my client service happens to have a unique selling position of the owner answering the phone every time, and we place that on the website. It always gets a smile out of me when I overhear them asking if this is Scott, the owner of the company, not me, and when they call and hearing I was just on your website. On the website, it says mention our website for 10% off, which tends to bring in the referral info aside from having to ask, and you guys mainly advertise online. So that's something that I saw that you mentioned, and I'm curious, is it worked out well? Or basically, what has kind of come from that?
Well, once again on that one, we're only advertising online. We're not doing any print or anything else on the side, so that helps. But we're in the directories because we want to be. We need that link. We need that spot. We need the citation. So, you know, people call. Scott answers the phone, and typically the first words out of their mouth when he answers the phone is this Scott? Well, I know if they've seen that, they've been to our website, they've hit the About Us page, they may have even seen the ad extension. I added that as a call out extension to our pay-per-click, speak to Scott, the owner. And that really helps as far as people's confidence. You're not going to get the runaround, you're not going to get a secretary, you're not going to get somebody that calls you back and doesn't know anything about what's going on. You're talking to the guy. That makes it a little easier, but there are things you can put out there on your website if you're not running a Google tracking number, Google Voice number. Google Voice numbers are free. If you've got a Google account, you can get one. They will forward it to any number you want, and they also will keep track of it, and you can report it in your analytics. We don't actually do that with the appliance company, thus why we have to manually track the phones as far as where they came from. But it is an option. We chose not to go that way because we've got brand history with the phone numbers, and we wanted to keep that.
Which is, I'd say, typically kind of rare to have actual.
Well, I guess for most people, I don't know. I see that as kind of normal, but maybe I'm just weird. I've had the same phone number since I was 16, so I don't know.
No, I've had the same phone number for a long time too, but I think most businesses, unless it's, like a lawyer who's, attaching some sort of word phrasing to the line, I feel like most businesses there's not that attachment to a number as well. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I mean, it's a good thing. Hey, if people remember your phone number, hey, that's great.
Yeah,
But I
but
think for most other
when
people,
when was the last time you saw a 613-2500 number? All even? Looks a little legit. They've been around a while. They didn't just get this, pop up, spring up out of nowhere. They're not a fly-by-night. They'll still be there next time you need them. That's kind of what we were going for on that.
makes sense.
But like I said, the 2500 helps.
Gotcha. And then also I have a comment here. You talked about the hotels and how they kind of hurt themselves with duplicate content sometimes.
Oh, okay. I'm going to be vague, and because I compete with these people and they might come across this. Um,
Oh, gotcha.
there, when Google announced the HTTPS boost, the slight benefit, uh, I happened to be doing some of our brand op stuff, so I was on our competition, the brand competition site, just kind of looking at it and seeing what was up there, and happened to notice that, oh look, the link for this page is HTTPS, and I thought that's a little weird. Do they have a canonical on that page? No. Is there an HTTP version? So I pulled that one up, and I was like, oh no. And then you also see the www dot and the non-www dot. Those are technically two different domains. So if you've got both versions, you've got duplicate content. Unless you've handled it with canonical redirects or some other thing.
Hmm. Sometimes the littlest things can trip us up. So I'm curious, outside of what we covered, do you have any kind of other tips as far as post-pigeon or just with the Google updates in general, things that you've seen in the past, year or so, 2014 that have worked well, or
Um,
any bold predictions on what might work well?
Very poignant question. I actually finally managed to get a post up last night about Google Plus adoption and personalized search. Um, People are going, is Google Plus going to go away? They seem to be backing away from it. Vic left Google. What's going on? My bold prediction for you is Google Plus isn't going anywhere. Google has integrated it into everything they've got. They're relying on it to get social data that they used to pay Twitter and Facebook for. Why would they ever get rid of it? Google wants to be a better search engine. This is the way to do that. They know who you know. They know who you email. They know who you plus one. They know who you share. And, if I like something and my buddy likes something and he gives him a good review. Well, on my cell phone with mobile, I'm always logged in. When I search, Google knows I know my buddy. I'm going to get that site sorry, I leaned away from the mic. I'm going to get that suggestion a little higher up in the SERP because it's personalized. Google knows that if John likes it, I'm probably going to like it too. Well, spread your connections. Network with as many people as you can, and they all get personalized results.
Very interesting. Just when everyone's hailing for the death of Google, Scott says they will stick around. Now, as far as, so you mentioned Yext and Moz Local. I'm curious if you have any other tools or software that you use recurringly for SEO, or lesser known tools that we might not have heard about that you like.
I live in Screaming Frog and Xenu. Screaming Frog's a crawler. It's free. The unlicensed version is awesome. I've been using it up until we actually just got a license for it today to check out the licensed version, and the licensed version does all sorts of cool stuff. I even had a chance to figure out some of the stuff that it can do. But I highly recommend Screaming Frog and Xenu. They'll help you find all your URLs, help you find your redirects, help you find your broken links, so you can go in and fix those on the technical side. Moz Local.
Okay, continue.
Sorry, Moz Local is a trusted data contributor to Axiom and Factual and Localese, Neurostar, and forgive me if I totally butchered any of those names, but they're essentially similar to Yext. It's a directory listing service. It's a citation management service. They go in there and help you clean up all of your citations so you've got consistent name, address, and phone number across the internet, NAP. They can help you find duplicate. Moz Local will actually identify duplicate Google map listings and inconsistent Bing map listing information. You can't fix it in the tool, but they'll show you where it is so you can actually take care of it with the appropriate people at Google and Bing. Yext in their dashboard has got a little deal where you can actually poke and update. I think they submit to 40 directories and 3 or 4 of the major aggregators. Moz Local submits to 7 major aggregators, including Best of Web, which is a good one to get in. Moz Local is also raising their price. I think it was $49.99 for a year, and I believe it's going up to $81 a year, which is still a killer deal. Yext is a little more expensive. You're going to come in at about $400 a year for Yext, and you do have to renew them every year to keep the benefits. We let Yext lapse for about 2 months, and it cost me 200 links as far as the Google Webmaster account.
Ouch. And
well,
so
okay.
I'm curious.
Okay, but for not link building and just doing Yext 15 minutes for 1 year, 1,200 different domains that were all quality linking to the appliance site in a year without doing any link building at all.
So with the link building portion, we're gonna go sandbox real quick here.
Okay.
This hypothetical site has its on-site SEO is perfect. It's got its schema marked up. You've done your, Yext or Moz Local, so you're in the directories. You're all set to go on that. You have a few different pages of unique content. Typically, the next step I know of would be do link builds. So where do you go from there if everything's quote unquote perfect? Is that where it's just create more content and the content itself will get links and or just have more content, or what's that? What more can you do, I guess?
Well, I would say at that step, and why most people don't think of this as link building, I said I use Yext, and that's about as close to link building as I'm going to get, but it's putting you in directories, and most of these directories take URLs. That's a link to your website. The major aggregators, sites like the LA Times that have a help ads section or services in Dallas because people in Dallas read the LA Times. Well, they've got a section for local companies, appliances. I've got some links from there. New York Times, Miami Herald. All of these different sites pull from the major aggregators. And so you're in the place that everyone goes for the information. And as long as you're there, they come to you. They're going to pull your information. They're going to link to you because you're in the source that says, this guy's legit. This is the guy. And they just kind of come naturally. At that point, though, I would go in and make sure that my Google Plus description, the company information field, is fully optimized. Make sure you've got a good description in there. You can link in that field. These are followed links from Google. I usually don't anchor text everything in it. I'll put a description of whatever it is, the appliance company, the hotel, kind of some of the things around them. I usually use the very first mention of the company's brand name as a branded anchor text to the homepage, and then I'll go through and give them a little bitty sitemap towards the bottom to help them find things on my site. If they happen to have found me on Google+, they can go directly to the information they want, and then typically some contact information at the bottom. I would also start posting about whatever it is that you're putting up site-wise on Google+. I actually was experimenting with this for one of our hotels in San Antonio, that the market's just really tight, competition is brutal, and there are so many hotels in San Antonio near SeaWorld that it was like beating my head against the wall trying to make this one site to perform. So I started taking some of the sub pages where we were a little longer tail and making some traction on the competition, sitting about 8 or 9, and went in and made some relevant topical posts. Memorial Day. We go in and post about Memorial Day and thanking the troops, and we happen to be near Lackland Air Force Base, and we link to that page on the G Plus post. And we've got great military friends and family rates. Come stay here if you're visiting Lackland for Memorial Day. 50th anniversary of SeaWorld was another good one that we could post about and say, hey, celebrate the 50th anniversary of SeaWorld with us. No, we're not SeaWorld, but we're right next to it, so stay with us and we'll get you a deal. But the pages you link to those are also links from Google. That link's not necessarily followed, but +1s on that link are. And thank you, Cyrus Shepard, for that tip.
So you do Google +1 posts, basically, for kind of relevant.
I would.
And then you deep link kind of in the site to sub pages that were relevant to that.
Pretty much. It definitely helps some of those pages perform. We're actually in the process of going through a new site launch for that one, so I've had to take a pause in seeing what I can do promoting those pages with G Plus until we get the new one up. But we got a lot more followers on that one particular G Plus account just by being active in the community and sharing, and tons of followers. Well, it's a hotel. I think they've got 30, but that's pretty good for us. And it builds a little goodwill in the community for you. It puts a reputation out there that you care as a business and you want people to come stay with you, at least on the hotel end.
Gotcha. Well, Scott, unless you have anything else that you would like to add, I think we can about wrap this up. I think I've asked basically most of the SEO questions that I know.
And no worries, I can talk about this ad nauseum. Just ask the people I work with. And
do you have any extra secret tips or secret sauce that we didn't mention here that you'd want to bring up, or next post that you might write about that you kind of has been bubbling in your head, or anything of that sort?
Drawing a blank at this point. My posts usually come to me at 7 or 8 at night when I've read somebody's comment and go, oh man, I can help you with that. That's not how it goes. So usually those are, I've read the same dumb thing 3 or 4 times and it's like, guys, stop saying this. I'm gonna post.
How about the jacuzzi one?
The jacuzzi one. Yeah, I'm still right on that. If you search hotel terms with jacuzzi, Google knows that whirlpool mixed with hotel terms means jacuzzi, so you can rank for it even if you can't use the brand term. That's a little hummingbird for you in Google learning that this word means the same thing, so I can give you the same SERP set.
So if you can't use the brand term, you can probably use something similar.
And if you
And
don't know what's similar, go to the SERPs and look. I mean, go search, see what you can find that pulls up almost the same search results, and you know that's the same term.
gotcha. And that's a nice little tip there. I like that one. So thanks a lot for coming on, Scott. Appreciate the knowledge drop.
I'm happy to be here.
And have a good one, man. Take care over there in Texas.
Oh, I will. It's been a nice balmy 80 degrees here, but the summer was actually pretty mild, so we're making it.
And good luck with the fantasy team. I've been struggling personally.
Yeah, I stole Kirk Cousins off the waiver wire this last week, which brought me to a week 3 win. I'm now 1-2. And since with my 2 quarterback league, I've got 5 quarterbacks, I'm about to do a little trading because, yes, Teddy Bridgewater is starting, and yes, Derek Carr is starting. And I totally drafted those guys. Leverage.
Two quarterback league sounds like fun. I'll consider that one next time. All right,
It's
man.
brutal.
Take care. Have a good one.
I appreciate it. Later, man.